Welcome back to the CheckMK channel. In this episode, we're taking a look at a topic requested by our viewers, namely how to work with bulk actions. With bulk actions, you can perform certain actions on a large number of hosts. So now let's take a look on how that works. We are back in our test site, which we have been using throughout the series. For now, let's go to Setup, Hosts, and then into the Servers folder. So here we have 6 hosts. And you see a checkbox at the beginning of each line. And you can use that to select one or multiple hosts. And you can use the checkbox at the top to select or deselect both of them. No, all of them. For now, let's check the 4 database servers. And then go to the Hosts menu. Now here under On Selected Host, you see all the bulk actions that we can perform on these hosts. So you can move them to another folder, you can delete them, edit the attributes. And for now, let's just edit the attributes. Here you see an overview of all the attributes that we can edit in bulk. And it's important to know that you will only edit a certain attribute when you check the box of that line. And if a box is already checked, like here at the IP, that means that all the selected hosts are sharing the same value for that attribute. You can also see which are using the default value for a certain attribute, or you can see if the value differs for a certain attribute. So that means that the host we have selected do not share the same value for this attribute. But for now, let's edit an attribute. Let's edit networking segment. So we check the box and then we choose a value that we want to give. So let's choose the 1 or WAN. And now if we save that, if we press save, then the 1 value for the networking segment will be applied to all our selected hosts. In CheckMK, there is a difference between explicitly setting the value of an attribute or leaving it empty, so it gets the default value or it inherits the value of a folder. When you edit a single host and remove the value of an attribute, then it will fall back to the default value or the inherited value. When doing bulk edits, this is not possible. You can only set values, but you cannot remove them. So if I bulk edit these hosts again, and I would remove this checkbox, that doesn't mean that I will unset the value of this attribute. It just means that I don't want to edit it. So if I were to save it, everything will remain the same. The reverse is true for the bulk removal of explicit attributes action. So let's select the same 4 hosts and go to the host menu and click on Remove Explicit Attribute Settings. And you'll see that the list is a lot shorter here. That's because only attributes show up that have a value explicitly set. So you see that the criticality has been set on 2 of the 4 hosts, while the IP4 address has been set on all of the selected hosts. And of course also the networking segment that we have just set. So now let's remove the networking segment for these 4 hosts and press save. And if I now look into a single host here, you'll see that the networking segment is again the default value, local network. So this is a powerful way to reset our inheritance and make sure that it works properly again. Let's say that I want all hosts in a folder to start inheriting an attribute directly from the folder. If I were to have hundreds of hosts in that folder that have the value for that attribute explicitly set, then it would be a painful process to reset or remove that attribute on each of them. But this way we can easily make sure that all hosts will inherit the value that we want. So another important action we can perform in bulk is the adding of missing services to a host or remove them if they have disappeared. And you already know this feature from earlier episodes, and you can easily go there by clicking on this yellow box. And then you will see an overview of all the services that are currently being monitored on this host. Since we are talking about bulk actions in this episode, I want to show you how you can do this for multiple hosts at once. Like with other bulk actions, you first have to select the host you want to perform the action on. So once again, let's select our database hosts and then go to the host menu. And here you'll find this item, Discover Services. In this dialog, we can exactly configure what we want to do. The currently selected mode is to add unmonitored services and new host label. That means it will only add these two things and it will not remove any vanished services. Automatically removing vanished services can potentially be risky. For example, let's say that you have a problem with one of your file systems and it vanishes. In that case, you don't want it to be automatically removed from your monitoring, because that way you wouldn't know that there is a problem. Instead, you want to be notified about the issue. If I would have configured remove vanished services, then it would have been simply kicked from the monitoring altogether. And that's not without risk. So here you can choose if you only want new services to be added, or the inverse if you only want to remove vanished services. And with this third option, you can do both at the same time. The fourth option will let you do a service discovery from scratch. So basically it will remove everything and then rediscover everything. And then the fourth option will only discover new host labels. Then there are some additional options. For example, this one. Only include hosts that failed on previous discovery. When you do a bulk or a CSV import of hundreds of hosts and do a service discovery at the same time, then it could be that a few of these hosts are not reachable at that time. So to prevent that you have to find and select all these hosts manually, you can simply select this checkbox and it will only perform the service discovery on the host that previously failed. And then there is another option to only run the service discovery on hosts where the discovery check has failed. This is a check that warns you when there are undiscovered services on your host that are currently not being monitored. When you are ready, simply click Start, and this will trigger a background job, and this can take a while depending on the number of hosts that you are rediscovering. When it's ready, the state, like here, will go to Finished. And down here, you'll see a summary of everything that has been discovered. So it discovered a total of 4 hosts, a total of 8 host labels has been discovered, and the total of 116 services have been discovered. So now let's go back to our host configuration. So there is another way you can perform a service discovery in bulk, and that is for the entire folder. So in the host menu, there is this section in this folder, and it also has an item, Discover Services. When you click it, you'll see a similar screen that you saw before. The only change is that there is a new checkbox, Include all subfolders. And if you check this, it will perform the host discovery or the service discovery recursively. So if there were any subfolders here, then it would also do the service discovery for all those subfolders. Another bulk action that you can perform on hosts is renaming. While this might not sound very spectacular, anyone who has done this before knows that in CheckMK this is actually quite a complex undertaking. And that's because the hostname is also the key for historical data in the logs and the databases. So when you rename a host, CheckMK actually has to go through all these logs and databases and update the hostname in order that you don't lose any historical data after renaming. If this were not the case, you could have simply deleted or removed the host and then added again with the new hostname. But often you want to keep data regarding availability, notifications, and so on. And that's why the renaming action works in such a way that it will basically rename the entire past of a host to the new hostname in order that you have complete historical data. So it's more complex than it sounds, and it also requires your CheckMK site to be stopped in order that the hostname can be updated in the database consistently. So if you were to rename a large number of hosts, then this could be quite a time-consuming undertaking, because for every host the CheckMK site has to be stopped and started again. And that's why there is a bulk action to do this. You can find the bulk renaming in the host menu here. And you'll see that the include all subfolders is already pre-selected. And this would mean that it would perform the renaming recursively for all hosts and all subfolders. Important is this hostname matching. And this is where you configure which hosts need to be renamed. If you leave this empty, then it will apply to all hosts. This field will accept regular expression, and if you want to read more on the topic, then you can find an article in our documentation. Important to know is that this will match from the start of the hostname. So I can, for example, say db_server, and now it will match on all hosts starting with db_server. Now we need to configure the renaming operation. We cannot simply give all hosts the same name because host names are unique. So now let's configure one by clicking Add Renaming. In this first dropdown, you'll see some pre-configured operations you can choose from. For example, case translation. And with this one, you can convert all host names to either upper or lower case. And this can be quite useful after an import if the case of all the host names are not consistent. So let's convert all our host names to uppercase now. You can simply click bulk rename, and before it will actually apply the rename, you'll see an end result that it would be. If I click cancel, I can go back and change my configuration. We can, for example, add a second rule. So add renaming, and this time we'll add a suffix. And we'll add a suffix of _test. And if I then once again go to the example, so bulk rename, you'll see that every host name will have a suffix _test, but it's not an uppercase yet. And that's because we added the suffix after the case transformation. To change that, we can simply drag the rule above the case translation. So if we go to the example now, you'll see that everything is in caps. Then there is a more extensive operation you can perform, more extensive than the case translation and the suffix, and that one is the regular expression substitution. So let's first remove the other two. So this one is a bit more complex, but I will show you a good example of what you can do with it. Instead of naming our host uppercase db_server, and then followed by a number, I want to name them db minus number minus server, all lowercase. So to do that, I would have to extract a portion of the host name and reuse that in the new host name. And to do this, I would need to create a subgroup in regular expression. And in my case, I want to extract the part that's always at the end after db server. So how would I write that? So I want to capture everything after db underscore server. And you could write that like this. So every host that starts with db or contains db server, and then you have this group, and what is in the parentheses is what we want to capture. And dot star basically means anything or everything. And this will work fine because we know that we have only 4 hosts and all of them have a number after db server. But if we would, for example, have a host that was called only db server without a number, then this can potentially go wrong because then there is nothing to capture, and or the renaming of the new host will probably not work how we wanted it to work. So we could write this in a safer way. We could, for example, write db underscore server parentheses to start the group, and then we want to capture \d plus, and then a $sign to say that's the end of the string. So what is written here is the string starts with db server, and then we want to capture this group. \d means any digit, and the plus means 1 or more. So it will capture any host name starting with db underscore server and followed by 1 or more digits, and then the end of the string. And now we need to configure how with what we want to replace it. And like we said, we wanted to replace it with db minus and then \1 minus server. The \1 will be replaced with whatever we captured here in our original hostname. So let's take a look on how this will look. And now you see that all our host names will be renamed to db minus number minus server. And if you are happy with the end result, you can simply click confirm. And once I do that, the renaming procedure will start, and this is done in a background job. And the whole procedure may take a bit of time because, like I said before, CheckMK will need to be stopped to consistently rename all the host names in all the logs and databases. And that's why you should avoid doing this in a productive system when the system is required to be functioning. The whole process can take somewhere from a few seconds to a few hours, depending on how many hosts you want to rename and how old your monitoring system is. And afterwards, your monitoring will automatically be started again. So let's press confirm. Like I said, it's being now a background job is being started. And while it's running, you'll find the current status or what is being done here in the progress info. And once it's done, the state here will go from running to finished, like now. Then here in the result, you'll see where exactly all the renaming has taken place. And that's how easy it is to rename or bulk rename a number of hosts. And that's everything I wanted to show you regarding bulk actions. I hope this video was helpful to you. If so, please subscribe to our channel and like the video. I hope to see you in the next episode.